Welcome to the AT Parenting Survival Podcast, where you get help and guidance through the chaos of parenting a child with anxiety or OCD. This show is for educational purposes and is not intended to replace the guidance of a qualified professional. Here's your host, child therapist, Natasha Daniels.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the AT Parenting Survival Podcast. Today, I'm super excited to bring back one of my favorite people on the internet. We're going to be talking to Tiffany Jenkins. I started following her literally forever ago. I don't even know how long, when she would make really relatable, funny mental health videos on the internet. Sound really old, the internets. And then I read her book, her first book. It was a best-selling book called High Achiever, which talked about her struggles with addiction and her experience getting through to the other side. And it was a really interesting book, especially having watched her on social media and then learning her backstory. And I'm super excited that she has a new memoir out. I love memoirs. You know I love memoirs. Her new book is called A Clean Mess. And it's a great book. It kind of picks up where the last one left off, but you can pick it up and not know her background at all. And what I love about her new book is she really highlights mental health struggles, maternal mental health struggles, and how parenthood also can trigger so much of our mental health issues. So I had a great conversation with her. We talked about her journey, self-medicating, and her substance abuse. And we move into talking about her anxiety themes, her postpartum depression, and how that showed up and how it impacted her parenting, impacted how she talked and handled dealing with her partner at the time, and also mental health struggles in front of being the face of mental health struggles in front of a large community. She has a huge following online, and that has its struggles too. So I know that you will definitely enjoy my conversation with Tiffany. Before we jump in, I do want to thank NoCD for sponsoring this episode. NoCD offers affordable, effective, convenient therapy, and they're available in the US and outside the US. You can schedule your free 15-minute consultation to see if NoCD is the right fit for you and your child. Just go to treatmyocd.com. That is treatmyocd.com. I'll leave a link in the show notes as well. I was also really happy to hear her talk about OCD and exposure therapy, because as I was reading her book, I was self-diagnosing her. I was like, why isn't she talking about OCD or Harm OCD? And it's funny that she brought that up in her interview. And I think that is a really important thing, that people understand OCD. And if you are not sure if your child has OCD, or you're new to the journey, or you just need to understand more about OCD, I do have a free webinar that you can check out at natashadaniels.com/OCD webinar. It's 5 things I feel like every parent really needs to know if they're raising a child with OCD, or even they think may have OCD. So check that out. And without further ado, here is my interview with Tiffany. Well, I want to welcome back to the show, Tiffany Jenkins. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited to be back. Thank you for having me.
Love your work. I've been following you for years and years, I guess, because I'm thinking like how long it's been from the time when you were doing like funny videos.
Mm-hmm.
And read your first book, High Achiever. I love memoirs, so like I just soak them up, and was so excited to hear that you're releasing a new memoir. Actually, when this podcast comes out, your memoir will be out like that day. So
really?
Yeah, we're going to make sure that this comes out on the day that your book is released. So,
oh my goodness, that's so exciting. Yeah. Thank you.
When you're listening to this, it's out and available where books are sold. It's actually doing really well already. I looked at it because we're recording this in March and your book's not coming out until June, and it's a #1 release, and it hasn't even been released yet.
Is it?
Yeah. So that's really impressive.
That is so exciting.
The new book is called A Clean Mess, which I love your titles. And I thought today we can talk about, you're just such a good face for addiction recovery and mental health. And I don't think a lot of people are in that space where they're like normalizing that. And then you introduce motherhood as well. which I think is a really important component.
Absolutely.
So I wonder if you can talk initially, just maybe give people a background for those of people that haven't followed you or haven't read your first book, a little background on your story of self-medicating early on, like high school.
Absolutely. I was actually really great in high school. I was captain of the cheerleading squad. I had really good grades. But I had a lot of mental issues that we weren't talking about back then. So I experienced anxiety, all different forms, and depression. But like I said, we weren't talking about it. So I didn't know that everybody else wasn't feeling the same way. And when I was offered a sip of alcohol in high school and I said yes, it changed the course of my life forever because I didn't feel anxious for the first time. I felt nothing. And it was so wonderful to just feel that peace. So I chased it and I ended up dropping out of high school within 3 months of taking that first sip. And then things escalated as they do. And I started using harder drugs and I was just caught in this vicious cycle of using and then guilt and shame from using and trying to self-medicate. And I ended up committing a lot of crimes and getting in trouble for those crimes. And that was when my new life really began.
Yeah. And it's a scary story because, I think we think about our kids, and I know like addiction runs on both sides of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And all my kids have mental health issues because that's just what's going to pop out of my uterus. And so it's just, they were doomed before they were conceived. And and I have a 21-year-old, 15-year-old, and 13-year-old. And I say to them exactly what you're talking about. Like, you can't take one sip because addiction is just in your veins. Like that fear of that normalcy that you'll feel when you do a substance, and that enticement of self-medicating, and how slippery that slope is, like so fast, is scary.
Absolutely. And I don't know if this is foolish of me to feel this way or not. I feel like because of all the things that I went through and because of my struggles with mental illness, I have a better eye for it so I can see it. And part of me is like, well, I can intervene and I can get them the help they need so that they won't be so desperate as to self-medicate. But I also know the power of addiction and mental illness. So I know that if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. And it makes me nervous because it's on both sides of my kids' family as well. And most times it's like, Russian roulette. You don't know until you pull the trigger whether or not you're going to have this intense addiction. Some people can just take one pill and be okay and not need another one. And if I take a pill, I want one again this evening and tomorrow and the day after. And I didn't know until I fed it. And so I want to tell my kids, like, don't even try it because we already know you're screwed.
That's kind of my message for my son. My older daughter, I'm not so worried. Like, we've traveled, and I think I've made her so paranoid that like we were somewhere and they were like giving us like blue champagne, and I was like, you're 20, you can try it. And she's like, I can't, Mom.
Aww.
But my son, I mean, he's got an addictive personality, so I'm like, ugh.
Isn't it interesting how you can see it in young kids?
Yeah, you can. Like my daughter, I don't worry about her. She doesn't have an addictive personality.
Right.
But my son, my 15-year-old, I'm like, it's that with video games, it's that with whatever he's into. But I do like your attitude that you'll be able to catch it. It's a very non-anxious attitude, I'll be able
Is
to
it?
catch it. Yeah, I actually think it's very healthy. It's healthier than me.
Interesting, because I also feel like I'm pre-worrying about things that haven't occurred yet. And I'm meeting my problems halfway. And I'm obsessing about the idea that they might, end up down this road. And what can I do to prepare? So because I also have harm OCD and health OCD.
Oh, I'm so glad you just said that.
Why?
No, that sounds really
rude. No, I'm just kidding.
What's wrong with her? No, I was reading your book and I was like getting a little revved up because I'm like, she's got harm OCD. Like, why isn't she mentioning she has harm OCD? Why is the doctor not diagnosing her with harm OCD? And all night long, I was like, should I tell her she has harm OCD? I'm like, no, it's not my place.
That's so, yeah. If you see anything in me, let me know. If you're looking at me and you're like, she's definitely got a little bit of this, like,
Well,
give me the heads up.
I'm not here to diagnose, but when you dive into someone's memoir, like, A Clean Mess, like really outlines your mental health struggles. And you mentioned initially, like the first time you meet the doctor, you're like, I have a little bit of anxiety and OCD and schizophrenia and like addiction and, like,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yep.
I have that too. And I was like, but then there was no mention anymore. Like he didn't talk about, he was like, oh, you have anxiety. And I was like, she's classically describing like those intrusive visions of like seeing the graphic images.
Well, at that time, I wasn't diagnosed yet.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that I didn't include it in the book because I've since gotten that diagnosis.
That is unfortunate.
I know. I wonder if it's too late to change it.
I know. You should ask.
Okay.
No, it's all about me now. No, I'm like such a huge OCD advocate, and I just feel like there's so many things that come out. And like your first book was a bestseller. This will be a bestseller, and it's a powerful tool for other people to be like, no, this is not anxiety. Like this is harm OCD. Like these are intrusive OCD thoughts. So I was waiting for it. I actually like got impatient. I started to skim that page because I was like, where's the OCD? Like he better diagnose her with OCD. And
wow, interesting feedback. So I'm going to ask because if it's important to other people, then I want to do it. I always think it's really important if part of my story can help somebody. I would never want to intentionally leave that out. So I wonder, even just a line in there.
One small line of, this is OCD. Yeah.
You know what? I'll see what I can do. I'll write somebody a letter. We'll see if we can do it.
The effort is appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I am glad to hear that because I was like debating, like I always feel like I overstep my boundaries. I'm always like, oh, you have this, or have you thought of that?
It was actually really tricky because I was in a documentary about anxiety, comedians with anxiety.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
And it was during the filming of that I was actually diagnosed with Harm OCD. And so part of it was also that I wasn't trying to do any spoilers. I was really worried about revealing things in the book that hadn't been revealed in the film. It was very tricky but yeah, I would love to add that in there because that is a huge part of who I am and how I parent.
And I think parenting with mental health issues and OCD, like having those intrusive thoughts is so debilitating. And so many people don't know that is OCD.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that is, well, phew, I'm glad I don't have to bring that up. Like, I don't have to diagnose her, so that's really good. Let's talk about after you had your first child, like your postpartum mental health struggles were so relatable. The way you described it and the breakdown that you felt and was so relatable. And I think there's so many parents out there because anxiety and OCD is so highly genetic that a big part of my audience, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and I feel like a lot of us have our own issues and the hormones. I feel like sometimes you don't even realize like how bad it gets until you have. I remember being immobilized with anxiety when I had my first kid, named Chloe too. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like your first child wasn't Chloe, but it's overwhelming. And you do a really good job in the memoir of like portraying that. I wonder if you can talk about that first experience because you were sober then. It was probably, to me, it feels like probably the first time you felt, and maybe I'm wrong, but like really intense mental health struggles without the crutch.
100%. It was the first time that I felt completely out of control of my emotions and my feelings in recovery since I had gotten clean. It was the first time that I was considering, what can I do to not feel this? Because it was such a dark place and I couldn't talk to anybody about it at the time, about the thoughts that I was having in regards to my children, because I didn't want people to think I was a terrible mother. And when I would look at all my friends, they seemed happy and excited about the baby, and I just wasn't.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't normal. but asking for help was still kind of new for me at that time, reaching out. So doing the opposite of what the old me would have done, which is used over it, was a sign of my growth, I think, at that time, being able to reach out for help during that desperate moment and say, I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to be a mom right now. And I don't want to care for these children. So what are my options?
Yeah. I mean, and there was so much strength. I mean, you'd gotten such great support, and I think that really showed your strength in that moment where there was this breaking point. And I liked how your sponsor always said, like, whatever the old you would do, you should do the opposite.
Absolutely. Still to this day, I do that with everything. And yeah, it was the thoughts that I was having during that postpartum depression time are thoughts that I never in a million years thought that I would ever talk about to anybody. I mean, I resented my children for existing. Their little voices, even giggles, was like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to change their diapers. I didn't want to feed them. And I always did, but I did it very ruefully and resentfully. And I was like, this can't be right.
Yeah. And people don't talk about that enough. I mean, and you have such a nice, huge platform to normalize that, because there's this shame that comes with postpartum depression, which is chemical, like I turned into a completely different human being. Like, it made me realize how chemical this stuff is when I was like, mine was anxiety. Like, I felt like I couldn't leave the house. I felt like I couldn't like let go of my daughter. If she was going to, like, something bad was going to happen. It was just overwhelming feeling of like dread, but it shows up in different ways. That I kind of like that in your book too, where it talks about how you can have like postpartum anxiety. Cause I didn't think, I was like, I don't have postpartum, cause like this isn't depression. This is like full blown panic. But I thought that was interesting. It was like postpartum trauma, postpartum, like all these different ways it can show up. And people don't really normalize that apathy, like that complete indifference that makes people feel embarrassed or shame. So I'm glad that you're giving a voice to that.
Thank you. I hope it makes a difference. I really do. And I was met with so much support when I became vocal about that. Everybody was so grateful that I had said it. Like, I had made a post about it a few years back also.
Yeah.
And the feedback was unbelievable. And I was like, wow, I'm not alone. There's so many of us who are going through this. It's so sad to me that so many moms are silently struggling, afraid to ask for help because they think it's a sign of weakness, or it means that they don't love their child as much, or they're incapable. And I know that a lot of moms don't like talking about it also because they're afraid that someone's going to take the kids from them also. And that breaks my heart.
Yeah, that's true too. I wonder if you find it's like therapeutic. Like, when I wrote my social anxiety memoir and I created like an Instagram account, small one, obviously not like yours, to talk about social anxiety, I didn't realize like how therapeutic it would be for me. Cause like my other account is all about helping parents with anxiety and OCD. And so it's very more like professional, or I'm a parent talking about my struggles, but it's not deeply personal about my struggles. And when I did that, which was overwhelming and uncomfortable, I actually found it was really therapeutic, because then people with social anxiety were like, me too. Like, I have that thought too. And I'm like, really? Like, you're
absolutely
in public bathrooms? Like,
yeah, I have social anxiety also, which always surprises people. They think that I'm this outgoing extrovert, and they have it so wrong. But I forget what I was saying. You said something, and it sparked a thought, and I got excited, and then I started talking about myself and forgot.
Being afraid of like going to the public bathrooms and stuff.
Yeah, it was before that. I'm the worst. I don't even know how to talk to other adults anymore.
Oh no, I totally get that. I talk really well when it's like a professional thing, and then if it's a social thing, I'm like a mess. Just put a mic in front of me, and then we can go out for coffee.
Yes.
I'll be okay. No, I was talking about, like, did you find that creating your account?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, when I put something new out, it's always terrifying. And then as soon as I get the first message that says, thank you so much, I needed this, then I'm like, that's it. That's the reason. And it becomes therapeutic for me. If I was putting my business out on the internet and everybody was like, weirdo, go home, loser, nobody can relate, then I wouldn't keep doing it. But the amount of people who are struggling and who are afraid to talk about it is so incredible that I just keep putting it out there. And I'm so grateful that it's met with such love and support. It's incredibly beneficial to me to see that I'm not alone.
Yeah, I would think that would be really therapeutic, and so it's kind of rebound effect of like, I'm helping other people, but then those people wind up helping you. I mean, you have like an incredibly supportive community of people who they're in your business a lot. That it's like, leave her alone, like,
yes.
and we'll talk about that in a minute as far as how you handle that. But I have some early parenting questions first. But
sure.
So when your kids started to get a little bit older, like could walk, and you moved into like, the suburban house, and you started to live the suburban life, which was probably pretty foreign. That's kind of in the book when you start to talk about like those intrusive thoughts and worrying about their safety and being kind of like a helicopter parent, like on steroids, like really making sure. I wonder if you can talk about what that chapter of your life felt like.
Sure. That was, just when I moved into the neighborhood, or those intrusive thoughts at that time?
Those intrusive thoughts and like dealing with.
So the house is on a corner in this neighborhood where people should be slowing down because there's so many blind spots, but they don't. I'm still there. I'm looking at it right now as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
And it was to the point where I wouldn't let the children play outside. They would always want to. And even if I was out there, it was such a nightmare. I was such a nightmare to them. Slow down, watch out, don't do this, don't do that. There's a car. Just constant. Like they couldn't even have a good time. And so oftentimes what eventually ended up happening was I would have to go inside, and my husband at the time would go outside with the kids and watch them. And then it got to the point where if they wanted to go to the fair or they wanted to go somewhere fun, he would have to take them and I would have to stay home. And it was not normal, and I knew it wasn't normal. And so that was when I began exploring ways to get help for myself. And that was when I was also approached by a documentary crew who knew I had anxiety. They didn't know the extent of it, and they didn't know how it was manifesting at the time, but they asked if I wanted to talk about it on camera, and they happened to come and capture all of it. Me outside trying to watch the kids and panicking and taking them to jump parks. But the suburban neighborhood,
The worst.
oh my gosh, I know. I can't. I'm like the fun police. I'm just such a worrywart. But I will say that going through exposure therapy helped me tremendously.
Oh my gosh, I wish you wrote all this in the book.
Damn it.
When is the documentary coming out? Is it already out?
No, well, it's being reviewed at film festivals.
Oh,
but the thing was, like, part of me felt like I should talk about it, but then the other part of me felt like it was such a niche thing, and it was such like a blip. It didn't really fit into the story itself, and I didn't want to tell the story twice on film and in the book.
Yeah.
But it's still so new. The book hasn't been released yet. So I'm listening to all your feedback and I'm like taking notes, like maybe I should change it. Let's change it. I welcome any of it.
Like one line that, you found out you had OCD and you did ERP, you did exposure therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's time we put help directly in our kids' hands. Introducing Crushing OCD course for kids and teens.
It was way more helpful than all the other therapy we've ever done because we didn't really know what to do. So we weren't really doing it before. So the course helped to figure out what the exposures are and how to do them.
We're not in therapy and find it really hard to find an ERP trained therapist here. So we're currently with like the public health service, but again, they don't seem to be trained in ERP. It's filled that gap that we don't have that was needed.
This was really well timed for us to use between therapists and to help us get off to a good start with this new practice.
It was easy to use. I was able to do it from my phone or also on the computer.
there's different ages, so there were younger kids, there were teenagers. And so that was really nice too, to have a variety of ages where it wasn't just geared towards younger kids or older kids. It was a nice variety.
It's helpful for our kids to hear it from this like third party as opposed to just us saying it.
I really like the offense and defense method. I love working on poking at OCD while it's sleeping. It makes it a little bit easier to do, and it's kind of fun. I'm planning on using it to work on my fear of like holding or touching batteries and stuff like that.
So it was really helpful, and I think a lot of other kids would like it. I thought that I was like the only one who had worrying about the weather and stuff. And then there was somebody else on there who worried about the same thing, which was really helpful.
Seems less scary to work on stuff now that I've watched this class, and I'm more interested to work on it.
I like trying to do more exposures still, and before I wasn't, I just didn't want to do them.
I've worked on some of my bigger compulsions and been successful.
I realized that it was helpful to do like the exposures. Before it was like really, really hard. It's still hard, but it's helpful to know that I need to do them.
Before there would be a lot of battles about it, so it is definitely less loggerheads.
Really, really good course and super helpful.
Definitely would recommend this. It's really easy to follow. It's nice bite-sized videos. I really like the worksheets that go along with it, and I think it's really helpful.
To learn more about this course and register your child or teen, go to atparentingsurvivalschool.com.
So many people struggle with that. So I'm glad that you were able to get into OCD therapy and did exposures. And how did you see that change?
Oh, it saved my kid's childhood going through exposure therapy. I had to do a lot of really traumatic exposures.
Yeah.
That bent me until I almost broke, but something beautiful happened. And I realized that all the things that I was afraid of were not real at that point in time. Could they become real? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
And that looking inward and trying to get in between the thoughts and the behavior so that I could change, my whole process was incredibly helpful. And so my kids are grateful. We do fun stuff now. And what ended up happening was shortly after exposure therapy, I ended up getting divorced anyway. And I had no choice but to do this stuff by myself. And so it's
really a gift in a weird sort of way, because otherwise your kids would have really struggled if you were still kind of stuck in those avoidant compulsions.
Absolutely. Yeah. They would have been in bubble wrap, leashed to the couch, like safety guys. We're not going outside. It's dangerous out there. That's how I was. And I still have moments, and it's tough because those feel like relapses in a way.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I thought I was better. So why am I freaking out about this? And that's when I need to reach into my toolbox and pull out some of the tools that I was given.
And I think those thoughts are going to come and go. Like, that's part of the disorder, is we don't really get rid of those intrusive thoughts. We get rid of the power that they have over us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
exactly.
Social anxiety is like when I would start to feel anxious about a social situation again, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I thought I was so much better. Like, why am I anxious about doing this? And it's some self-compassion to being like, no, Natasha, you're going to have these thoughts for the rest of your life, but are you still going to that thing? Are you still doing that thing?
Are you still doing it? Right.
That's the important thing. It's hard. I know I have a thing with knives with my kids. I think I resonate with your themes because I am the safety police too. Knives is like a big one though for me. Like if you come to my house, there's like bagel cutter little machines so they don't have to use a knife, like things that are not, I was cutting their food before, like if they open a package, I'm like, hey, I got that. And I'm like,
interesting. And it's
old,
It's interesting how specific it is too sometimes, I'm noticing, because for me it was choking.
Oh, choking is a big one too.
For you too?
Oh yeah. Choking is a number one. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So I would just watch my children, and they weren't allowed to eat hot dogs or spaghetti.
Yeah.
Mozzarella sticks.
Oh yeah.
Like I was, So I still get a little anxious. I'm like, sit up when you're eating.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad as it was. They're allowed to have hot dogs now.
That is good. No, I was cutting hot dogs vertically. I was cutting grapes vertically.
I bought a grape cutter that quartered them.
Yeah, I was very identical to that. So yeah. And it's hard because like you have to not do those things and then sit with that uncomfortable feeling, like what is developmentally appropriate, and when they're 10, 11, I'm like, I don't need to be cutting their meat anymore into small little bits so they don't choke.
I disagree. I think you should until they're at least 30.
Oh, then I can go back to I don't like steak anymore. It's too chewy.
No, steak is so scary to me. Steak is so scary to me.
Yeah, so I can relate. But I wonder if your kids notice the difference from like before and after therapy. Like did they understand your struggles?
I hope so. So my kids are 9 and 10 now.
Okay.
And the documentary was shot, I think 3 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe more. And so at the time they knew that I was always afraid, and they would always make comments like, don't look, mom, or mom, everything's going to be okay. Now I think I don't think they notice anything that isn't like a YouTube video or Roblox or like a snack. No. I don't think they notice anything else. I hope so, though. I hope, because they do get to do more fun things. And so I think those experiences themselves are memories in which they're going to have that they wouldn't have otherwise had if I hadn't gotten that help.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys talk about mental health?
Absolutely. I might do it too much, honestly, because with my kids, I want them to know that I hear them. I want them to know that their opinion matters to me, and that if they disagree with me or if they see things a different way, they have the freedom to speak about that. And I know a lot of people don't agree with that, and that's fine, but it's just what works for me and my family. I want my children to know that they have a voice, and I like to discuss things with them and tell them why I'm doing things. So if I tell them to do something, I try to give a reason so that they understand why they're doing it. Because my mom would always be like, because I said so. And no offense to people who say that. I say that around the 4th or 5th time. But I remember being a kid and being like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, but I feel like a robot, so I want them to know. And they don't always get it. But yeah, we talk about mental health. We talk about anxiety. They know that I have anxiety. When I start to get overstimulated and overwhelmed with parenting, if there's too many loud noises at one time, or somebody's trying to talk to me and a faucet's running in the background, I get really short fused. And so I let them know, listen, I'm feeling really anxious right now, and it's not your fault. It's not anything that you've done, but I do need a minute to just breathe. So please don't ask me any questions for the next minute, and just let me have that moment. Sometimes they let me, sometimes they don't, but
yeah, I think it's really good modeling. It's like you're showing them, not only are you like helping them understand where you're coming from in that moment, so they don't personalize it, or, but also like you're modeling, this is how you communicate.
Right.
It's like a healthy way to communicate. So, and I don't know why anyone would disagree with that parenting style where you explain why you're doing things or you ask their opinion. I think that's.
Well, I think some people believe children should be seen and not heard. They should be obedient. They should, respect an adult and do what they say without questioning it. And so I think a lot of people have trouble with the fact that it's being questioned to begin with, which to each their own.
Yeah.
I would never knock another parent or what works for them, because I'm not even sure my way works yet. Like, time will tell if I'm doing the right thing or not. Yeah. I have no clue.
Of the puzzle. Anyway, like even if
right,
right, the wheels can still fall off.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I do like it though. I do feel like it doesn't mean that we don't still have boundaries, or like that there's some structure to like what you're asking, but giving kids like I was trying to get my son up. He's in online school, and like he's like an English class at the same time that I'm doing this episode, and I'm like trying to get him up, and he's dead to the world, and I'm like, I don't have to do this. Like, I'm just wanting you to catch up on English, you know, because
Right.
if you miss this live class, like you're going to struggle. Like I'm not just a nag. And I think that, you know, giving them, did he get up? No, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you struggle probably because I had to move on with my day, but I think
Mm-hmm.
giving some understanding is helpful. So I do appreciate that type of parenting when people do it.
Good.
I want to talk about the other thing that you bring up that I think you highlight really well is like having a partner who doesn't understand your mental health struggles. I really understood that. Like my husband, he's passed away. He died 4 years ago, but he would be like crazy lady. He would like be like, all right, crazy lady. And he would do it sarcastically, but I felt like there was some minimizing of like my anxiety struggles.
100%.
And so I really resonated with the struggles you had. I wonder if you could talk about that, like how you navigate or maybe don't navigate when how it feels to be invalidated.
So my ex-husband didn't experience anything like I did that I know of. He didn't experience depression, anxiety. And so everything I believe that came out of my mouth seemed unreasonable to him. And this is my perception of how he perceived me.
Right.
I could tell that he couldn't understand. I could tell that he didn't see it and was trying his best to be supportive. But I often felt invalidated. I often felt crazy. I often felt like I was overreacting. And it wasn't until I got with a partner who does understand mental illness that I look back and I'm like, wow, I think I can now understand how important it is to have someone there to validate you, to help you get centered again, to help you return to a state of calm during those times. Because in my opinion, anxiety is unreasonable and it's irrational and there isn't a reason. I can't explain why going to the grocery store feels like walking through a haunted house. It just does.
Yeah.
And trying to explain it to someone who doesn't understand is tough. And I would recommend if somebody out there is struggling and their partner doesn't understand, truly like encouraging their partner to research. Like if you love me and you want to understand how my brain works, do a little Google search. Do a little Google search and look up how to be a supportive partner. And just read the list and go down the list and just do what it says. Like if you don't know, you don't know. And I would never fault anybody for not knowing. But I think having the willingness to try and understand is what makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I agree. And you had a therapist that tried, you know, and it seemed like you go into therapy and it worked for a little while. And then it's really hard. I think finding the right partner and the right connection for people to understand anxiety. You don't have to have anxiety or mental health issues to be an empathetic partner, but those are skills and some people don't have them.
Right, exactly. But it really does make a difference. I feel like I spent a lot of time trying to convince him that I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time over explaining or trying to justify my actions. And it was exhausting because while we would be sitting watching the kids, you know, this person might be thinking about football or, you know, whatever he was thinking about, but I'm thinking about 874,000 thoughts at one time. And I used an example. I don't know if I used it in the book, but it's like our brains are these filing cabinets. And he just pulls it open, reaches into the file he needs, reads it, puts it back. My filing cabinet is open and someone has like a blower to it and the papers are flying everywhere and I'm trying to grab them and trying to make sense of it. And it's hard to do alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really good visual. I did think that was a really good way to look at mental health struggles.
Good.
So
I'm glad.
What tools and skills are keeping you sane these days?
Keeping me sane? I would not say that I am sane the majority of the time, but something that has been really helpful for me is fellowship, my friends. All of my friends are in recovery.
Yeah.
And all the people that I hang out with have been with me since I first got clean. And so having somebody who I can call and say, hey, I'm really struggling. I need help. Or, hey, my house is falling apart at the seams and I don't have the energy or willingness to clean it. Can you come over and help me? Like, having a community has been the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Leaning on other people and asking for help. I also have a sponsor who I do step work with, which allows me to look inward and work on myself. Mm-hmm. I think recognizing that it's impossible to balance work, home, and parenting and self-care perfectly at all times has been life-changing for me, because there was a time where I was like trying so hard to excel in every area. But the truth of the matter for me in my life is, if I'm dedicating time to spending time with my kids, I'm not working. And so my work is going to suffer. If I'm working, I'm not spending time with my kids, and that's going to suffer.
It's a lose-lose, yeah.
Yeah, and it goes the same way for my house. If I'm cleaning my house, everything else is being neglected, and it's just the way it is, and I can't do it all. Mm-hmm. And so having grace with myself and pacing and just doing what I can when I can, I think is what keeps me sane.
Yeah, I think that is so true. Like, you just aren't going to knock it out of the park in every category.
No.
Just accepting that and realizing.
And if you do, good for you. What are you doing? Share your drugs. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can. I mean, I would venture to say that no one can balance all of those, because there's this guilt component. Like, when you're working, oh, I should be with my kids. And when I'm with my kids, I should be working, and my house is a mess. And I think that just the pressure that women in general are under to like manage it all.
Yes.
Is ridiculous. It's
daily though. I will literally spin in circles in my living room. Like, where do I start?
Yeah, I do that too.
What do I do?
I have to like curate. I'll be like, okay, you're going to go eat breakfast.
Love it.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go eat breakfast. Like, this is breakfast time. I'm going to eat breakfast, because my anxious mind is just like, you need to do this. You need to do this. And nope, you're going to go eat breakfast. And then we're going to talk about what you're going to do next.
I love that.
All right.
You're like coaching yourself through it. I love that.
It's weird, but
it's not weird. Sometimes you have to do that. Okay, we're going to go upstairs and we're going to put the clothes in the washer, and then we're going to go back in the room and we're going to do this. And I get it.
Yeah. Just little steps in your day. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is, I wonder how it feels, or how you navigate, like you're in the public eye, you have all these followers who are in your business, which can be a positive thing, that they're super supportive, and the algorithm likes you because it keeps coming in my feed. So I'm always like, oh, what Tiffany?
Really? It's nice.
Yeah, it's
I mean, not for you, but for me, I like that. You're seeing it.
No, I always like it, because like once I read a book of someone, or follow them. I think I read your book after I started following you for a while. I think the videos were like what kind of got me into. Like, oh my gosh, these are so funny. I love these.
Thank you.
But when something like life altering happens to you, I got to read the post, or I see your face and you're like, I can't tell you what happened. And then recently I saw like you had a hard time. Like, I think you went live and then you went off live. I didn't see it, but
yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, this must be so hard. Like, to be a public figure and to be under a microscope and have all these people who kind of feel like they have a right to know everything that's going on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that balance of being like in front of the camera?
Probably worse than most people, to be 100% honest with you. I don't handle it well. I have moments where I just so desperately want to be invisible. And because I started making videos for fun, and then it became a career. Yeah. And then it became a thing where, oh my gosh, this is paying our bills. This is becoming our livelihood. And so then it took some of the fun out of it for me.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it for money and not for. So then I spiraled into this. When I went through my divorce, I didn't want to talk about it online. And people were really upset because they felt like they were owed something. And I think that's the biggest thing I struggle with, is feeling like I owe people things constantly. if I'm off the internet for a few days, there's a voice inside my head that says, you have to tell people that you're not getting high and that you're okay. So then I have to go and make sure. Yeah. But I'm putting it on myself. People aren't demanding it. Maybe one or two people are like, hey, are you okay? Where have you been? But for the most part, it's me thinking, okay, I have to figure out how to remain relevant. I have to put things out there that matter to people and that make a difference. I have to not make people upset while I'm doing it, not say anything controversial. Yeah, it is a lot. And so the way I deal with it, to answer your question, is I just go off the internet and I hide. Yeah. I do. I just don't open the internet. I don't open the comments. I don't post anything. And I just focus on what's tangible in my life at the time. But I can only do that for a short period of time because it is my job.
Yeah. I mean, I think on one hand, it shows the reality and the humanness of you, and I think that's why people gravitate towards you and love your stuff, is that it's not polished. It's like, it's raw, and it's like, you don't seem to hold back a lot,
No.
except unless you're trying to protect your family or other people. But I think that's why people like you, is that you are real. And so seeing those bumps and then seeing you kind of go offline for a while and then coming back is showing like the real experience of dealing with these struggles, and that you're not perfect. Nobody is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot.
It is. Thank you. That was super validating too. I don't know if it's my age or what, but I cannot fake it anymore. I cannot pretend anymore. Yeah. And I refuse to. And so if I'm not having a good time, I can't pretend like I'm having a good time. If I don't feel comfortable promoting a product, I'm not going to promote a product. I can't fake it. I just can't do it. Mm-hmm. And that makes it hard when you're a content creator, because I hate to say it, but a lot of it is like shiny, flashy, look at this, look at that. Even if you're not feeling it, it's a job. And I don't thrive in that area nowadays. I don't fake it. I let people know I'm depressed, I'm upset, I'm having a tough time, I'm anxious, I'm happy, I'm joyful. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at. Thanks for joining me on my journey. Sorry, I can't promise you anything. I have no clue where it's going to end up, but I'm trying my best every day to get up and be the best mom I can be. That's really my main goal now, is just to take care of myself, make sure my cup's full so that I can pour into my kids and make sure that I do the best I can to give them a good life.
Yeah, and it shows. And I think that's why people follow you. It's because they know that you're real. And
thank you.
And so I think that is actually, ironically, like your branding, if that makes any sense. Like, people don't want a fake Tiffany. Like, that's not why they're watching you. So
right.
And I think your new book, Clean Mess, is really going to take it to a next level, because you're talking to moms and parenting and like the next chapter that is going to reach another wave of people that are going to really resonate with your story and normalizing it.
Thank you so much. I really hope so. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I know where I can find you, but let's tell everybody else where they can find you. Your book will be everywhere. So I'm not sure where it's going to be yet. I don't know how any of this works. I'm just excited. It's going to be places. Well,
wait, they're going to fire me. I'm the worst promoter. I'm like,
you'll have to work on this, you got time.
I know. I have no clue where it's going to be sold. The bookstores, Amazon.
Wherever books are sold.
Wherever books are sold.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's Random House. So wherever books are sold.
Yes. Yep. Penguin Random House is the publishing company, and it's wherever books are sold. There's signed copies that are available, and I hope everybody likes it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. It was a quick read. I had like a 3-day notice for this interview, and I was easily able to read it in 2 days because it was just an easy, interesting read. I mean, sometimes I have to interview someone and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 6 weeks and I can't get through this.
Oh, I love that you do your research, though. I think that's so cool. That says a lot about you as a host.
Oh, I appreciate it. There's nothing worse, honestly, like I said before we went on, to like be interviewed by people who you could absolutely tell did not read your book at all or don't even know who you are, which is fine for me because I'm not anybody comparatively, but yeah, it was not a torture fest to read your book. It was actually really entertaining and interesting, just like your first book, High Achiever. So
thank you so much.
I definitely recommend reading maybe the first book and then the second book. I feel like the order of it is helpful because, I mean, it was like really picked up. Your journey picked up. I mean, like.
And it was written in a way where you didn't have to read the first book to understand it. But there was definitely some callbacks to the first book.
Yeah, I could definitely see where people, because I mean, I read that book, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago, forever ago. I don't remember. And I have a zero memory. But once I picked up your new book, I was like, everything came back. I remember.
Oh, cool.
So I think it's powerful either way.
Thank you.
I wish you the best on your book. I'm sure it will do fantastic. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great chatting.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview. She is the most down-to-earth person that has this huge following and is still incredibly humble and relatable and easy to talk to. So I really, like, what you see is what you get with her. You know, sometimes I've interviewed people where their persona, like their public persona, and then how they treat me or talk to me behind the scenes or what they were consumed with, they don't match. And I'm kind of like, you're not really who you're actually portraying yourself to be. And that's always disappointing for me because I'm just I try to be really raw and authentic. And when I see someone where I'm like you're super friendly and connected when we hit the record button, but before that, you're not a really nice person. That was not the case with her. And it's not the case with a lot of people, but I just want to say she is the real deal on and off camera, super authentic, kind, honest person. And definitely check out her book. It's definitely going to be another bestseller, A Clean Mess. I will leave links in the show notes. If you don't follow her on Instagram or YouTube, definitely follow her. You can find her account, Juggling. Oops, why did it just disappear? My internet. Juggling the Jenkins is her handle on Instagram. And her other podcast is Take It or Leave It with another comedian, Meredith Masony. And that's a really hysterical podcast too. So you can check that out. Both podcasts are awesome. And check out both of her books, High Achiever and A Clean Mess. I hope that you are enjoying this podcast. If you are, don't forget to hit a star and rate it. Greatly appreciate that. And don't forget to find the sparkle in everything you do. Take care. I'll talk to you again next Tuesday.
Thank you for listening to the AT Parenting Survival Podcast. To get additional support raising a child with anxiety or OCD, visit Natasha's online school of on-demand classes at atparentingsurvivalschool.com.